Hey everyone, welcome to the Buzz COVIDeo series. I'm Jeff Pilch, one of the creators of the Buzz. And today I'm here with Arian Radmand, the founder and CEO of IgnitePost. How are we doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you doing through all of this?
I think we're making the best of it. I think there's just like anything in startup land, there's ups and downs, and it's just a matter of riding it out and finding the silver lining and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you maybe kind of recap a little bit about IgnitePost? I know we profiled you guys a few months back, maybe just to refresh the followers' memories on what you guys are up to.
Yeah, sure thing. So basically, IgnitePost, what we are a service that enables businesses to develop deeper relationships with their customers and prospects. And how we do that is we actually enable those businesses to send real pen and ink, robotically written, handwritten notes at massive scale. So kind of
Mm-hmm.
half hardware, half software, and we basically integrate with pretty much any system that a business would use: CRM system, email automation system, and enable people to trigger very, very personalized, robotically written, handwritten notes at exactly the right time. So say the right thing at the right
Yeah.
time via very personal medium.
And I know you usually have the robots at the office. Where are they now?
Yeah, so we're based in Davis Square, and so we had a room full of robots there. Unfortunately, due to the whole COVID-19 situation and the whole stay-at-home mandate, we actually had to relocate a lot of them. So I moved uh, six of the robots actually to my apartment here in Brookline. So essentially, one room here is kind of de facto a robotic handwriting factory.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, you got to be creative, right? And the letters got to go out.
Yeah.
Can you fill us in on how, like, immediately? I know it's probably been, I don't know, 7 weeks since things really started like changing. How did like the business immediately get impacted, and how have you kind of like seen it broadly more get impacted?
Yeah, well, so immediately in March, kind of right when everything like really essentially shut down, we saw almost an 80% drop in our volume. So we basically like hit a wall from a volume and revenue standpoint, just due to the fact that most of our customers at that time were really customers that were using us for sales prospecting. So
Hmm.
outbound prospecting, trying to target other prospects at companies. And so when everybody started just working from home, obviously they put a lot of those, almost all of those types of
Yeah.
campaigns on hold and suspended them. So immediately that was kind of that was the immediate impact of the kind of shutdown. So from our perspective, what we tried to do to kind of right the ship, there were a couple things. So kind of business aside, the first thing we wanted to figure out is, how could we just help in general?
Yeah.
So actually one of the first things we did is we actually partnered up with Direct Relief, which is an organization that is providing protective equipment to frontline healthcare workers. And so we actually set up a
Awesome.
donation page where we're using our robots to send personalized handwritten notes to
Oh,
healthcare
cool.
providers or to hospitals, where somebody can donate and actually send one of those personal notes just saying, "Hey, thanks so much for being on the front line. We
That's
appreciate you."
awesome. Yeah.
And then we're basically we donate 100% of the proceeds to Direct Relief, which is going to provide protective equipment to those workers. So that's kind of like immediately what we did is like, okay,
Yeah.
how can we help out? So we got that up and running, and we're still actively doing that and donating. So if you go to ignitepost.com/COVID-19, you can donate there. So we'd appreciate that as a little plug. But really, but really, what it forced us to do then is, from a business standpoint, figure out how are we going to pivot and change and kind of right the ship, because we had about 80% of our volume to get back. And so what we did is we actually looked at the sectors that we were working with that actually were showing promise and growing. And really the only one that was really showing us a lot of promise to put a lot of effort into was e-commerce, because again, everybody's now at home. A lot of
Yeah.
shops, all the shops and restaurants are closed. So in terms of who we could really work with, our options were kind of limited. And it was interesting because when you start a business, very often it's a challenge to figure out like what to do, right? There are so many different options to do, so many different opportunities to chase. Really,
Yep.
the challenge is figuring out what not to do. This was literally the first time ever in my career that it was like very clear. It's like,
Yep.
well, we can't do anything else. Here's like the thing that's showing promise. So let's really double down and really nail this. So, you know, it's kind of one of those bittersweet things where it stinks because it's an awful situation. But from like a decision standpoint, the decision to go and focus on e-commerce was pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad it was relatively obvious for you. That makes it a little bit easier, I guess, during all this. Does what has happened, I guess, you know, specifically with e-commerce or anything else you're seeing in the business, does it impact your long-term vision for what the company is going to look like based on, you know, everything that's happened relative to even just like 2 months ago?
Yeah. So I think just in general of like where we take the business and how, you know, how we're really positioning the company, it's going to definitely affect that and change that. If we were having this conversation, you know, 3 months ago, you know, I would have said that we're really going to kind of double down on that like sales and prospecting kind of segment, because that's where most of our customers were coming from. But now, you know, in the post you know, COVID-19 era, I think our business is going to look a lot different because we're really going to be focused on e-commerce for really the foreseeable future, because we don't really have a timetable of when things are going to be, you know, back to normal, so to speak, or even if they are even going to get back to like the
Yeah.
true normal, like, you know, 3 months ago. So so I think for us, yeah, fundamentally, it's really changing how we're positioning the business, number one. And then from a product standpoint, it's also changing because, you know, the features and the way that the service is going to work, fundamentally, the underlying kind of components are the same, but fundamentally, like some of the dynamics are just a little bit different. So like the types of
Yeah.
integrations we do, the kind of partnerships we set up, those are all going to be different when we're working with
Yeah.
someone that's an e-commerce shop as opposed to someone that is, you know, an enterprise, you know,
Sure.
SaaS sales platform or something.
Yep. Would you be able to like quickly walk through kind of like what the customer journey is for an e-commerce use case that you guys have been doing right now? I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, so there's been a couple, and it's been interesting too because we've actually seen an influx of people be interested in trying out IgnitePost because specifically they know everybody's at home, so this is a great way of
Yeah.
connecting with them. So a couple interesting use cases. One of the best and easiest that we've seen is an e-commerce shop that will use an integration either via Shopify or whatever kind of platform they're
Yeah.
on, plug it into IgnitePost and do something like anytime a user makes a first time purchase on their shop above a certain dollar threshold,
Yeah.
they automatically get a handwritten note triggered to them, asking them to leave a review on Amazon or Google or whatever review site they want.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really simple kind of automation that we've seen a lot of people set up. And actually now are seeing examples of not only it being effective of one being a nice kind of surprise and delight because people don't really receive
Yeah.
a lot of mail anymore, but then specifically a really like very targeted specific piece of handwritten mail. So one, the surprise and delight, but two, we've actually seen that it leads to kind of more brand differentiation and will also prevent people from taking negative action on your site. So there's a couple examples of like things that happened just because of like fulfillment errors or just because, you
Yeah.
know, the supply chain is kind of getting crushed and a little bit crazy right now, where we've actually seen situations where someone has either gotten shipped the wrong product or had like a customer service complaint. And because of this kind of surprise and delight element that was injected at kind of like the right time, it actually completely flipped it. And so they're like, hey,
Mitigated it. Yeah.
yeah, like, hey, like you shipped me the wrong thing, which is fine. Like, I totally get it. By the way, thanks so much for following up with a handwritten note. It's like the small things that count. Like, I'll totally write you a review. And by the way, can you actually send
Yeah.
me the product I ordered? So, but we've seen that multiple times. So, so that's a great use example. The other one is actually just like reaching out to your kind of top customers and one, just kind of checking in with them and just saying, hey, like you're one of our best customers. Thanks so much for kind of sticking by us. Here's a discount code for an upcoming spring sale we're having. Please support us, kind of thing. So we've seen that type of outreach be super effective as well. So just kind of a couple examples just off the top of my head.
No, I think that's helpful to kind of frame it that way as people kind of listen in and figure out like how they can most be helpful to you. And I know that that's a big part of what the Buzz does. So maybe if you could talk a little bit about like how ways that we could be the most helpful for people that are listening. Could you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the biggest way people could help is by introductions to any online or e-commerce shop that would be interested in kind of adding that personalized touch at any point in their, in the life cycle of one of their customers. So that's one big way. Specifically, we're also looking to work with a lot of marketing agencies, just in general, in terms of talking with a lot of these different e-commerce shops. We noticed that a lot of them work with marketing agencies that kind of run a lot of different aspects of their marketing. So we're also interested in working specifically with agencies, one, to give them kind of a new tool in their tool belt, but two, to also help them differentiate themselves from all other agencies and kind of, again, differentiate and set themselves apart. So those are kind of two ways off the top of my head that, people could really help us out, just with, a quick intro here or there.
Awesome. And the website is IgnitePost.com, correct?
The website is IgnitePost.com. Yep. If anyone's interested, they can hit the site there. If they want to see a free sample, there's a flow right on the site to do a free sample and send yourself a free handwritten note. So if you're interested in checking it out, that's what I would suggest. But yeah, other than that, we're just kind of heads down right now in client acquisition mode to try to claw our volume back.
Awesome. And what about if people have extra space to store your robots? You open to that, or are you good on that?
Definitely open to it. Definitely open to it. The tricky part is really kind of trying to abide by the whole social distancing and that kind of mandate. So, but yeah, if people have extra space, I'm totally open to it. We can definitely chat.
Love it. Hey, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it, Arian.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. This has been great.
Awesome. Be safe, and thanks everyone.